against RNG.
Yeah, just for clarification for anyone that's taking advice on what to abuse the solo queue, you can't use Helia on Ashe anymore. They fixed it. Like that's not in the game anymore. So don't build Helia on Ashe. Anyway, into the draft. We talked about Taegyu and Zani. Well, it's been taken away from him, and instead he goes for the Jace alongside a Maokai, and we are flying through.
Yeah, RNG more than happy to give this Wukong over to Xiaohao, but this is what we've been talking about. The jungle head-to-head for this game is going to be key, and whoever gets that mid lane priority when it comes to these two champions is going to be key, because we see that RNG, they well prepared for this Annie to be taken away by Harden in this game 1, where it's going to be naturally responded by the Jace, and Pengyun on champions like the carry is still a bit of a question mark for me, especially coming to the summer split, because he hasn't played a single Jace game just quite yet, as we all know him as a utility player.
Yeah, we'll see how he's going to do on a more carry-oriented pick. Now, Jace can still somewhat be, I don't know if a utility pick is really the right phrase, but you can kind of play back and just play for poke, can be an option, but realistically, you do want him to be going in unless you're building a whole poke composition. As a Xayah could be the option for LP here, for very long range. The Kai's still locked in. You assume for iBoy down in the bottom side, although shenanigans have been occurring in drafts recently. I will assume that's going to the bottom lane. And the Xayah, generally the answer to that. I mean, if you think way back to like 2019, this was the trade-off always.
I will not lie, that was probably the best meta we've had in bottom lane, because it was just non-stop fighting. But of course, comparable to 2023, we have AP Kaisers dominating the competitive scene, where you go the Static Shiv and into the Nash's or Guinsu, where you do play off those 3-item spikes, compared to something like the Kraken, which was I don't think Kraken was out during 2019, was it? Maybe it was a different item pod. Maybe it was IE or something. But obviously for this game 1, it is going to be all about the push. However, RNG, having the Zai getting locked in, that does mean the Rakan is going to get taken away, or at least any pairing that will do well for setup, especially when Luma, I mean, he has a bit of a flexible champion pool when it comes to the way he approaches these games in summer. And I feel like he does look a lot better on champions like Lulu, where it's a lot less punishable, but we'll have to wait and see what he takes up, because the top lane matchup is what I want to talk about, as we have champions like the Gragas and the Ornn kind of lowered in priority because of the rise in popularity, I would say, of Jackson or Renekton. And Breathe is someone that I would love to hone in on, because I feel like Breathe offers so much flavor to the RNG composition overall, because he can be your Fiora or he can be your Gragas, you know what I mean?
It's like one of those Valentine's Day cards. If you don't like him at his Fiora, then you don't deserve him at his Gragas. Breathe, yeah, though.
Exactly.
Like you say, bring in all kinds of styles to the table. I mean, he's played a game of Toppy. Like, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here. Yeah. Breathe has one game off Poppy in the top lane, 100% win rate. By the way, didn't die that game. Has an infinite KDA on Poppy this split. But Lumao, taking away the Leona here. I really like this pick, because I feel like this was the obvious available lock-in for Zora to set up for iBoy's passive. So really good takeaway here from RNG.
I love this Leona lock-in, like you said, just full sending it, trying to deny Ivor from that Static Shiv first item spike in the bottom lane, but never mind, I don't want to talk about top lane anymore, because it is going to be the K'Sante lock-in. However, we need to remind the audience that if AL decide to lock in this Alistar, the Jace realistically can be flexed towards that top side, and Tengyun locks in something like the Sylas. And you have so many great ults to steal. You have K'Sante all out, you have the Alistar ult, you also have Wukong and Annie as a combo as well.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I'm a huge proponent for Sylas, but especially into Alistar. Sylas with Alistar ult is absurdly strong. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. Sylas too far out of the meta. And Tangyuan will be happy with that Jace lock-in. And we have to bring in the context as well that Tangyuan generally has been that utility player, right? So it's already exciting seeing Tangyuan taking the Jace. Like, we get to see him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is his Jace debut in professional play. So hyped to see what he can do on that one. The Renekton going to come out in the top lane for Breathe.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Tongyun is going to do on something like an AD carry because I tend to think that RNG find the most success when Wei is set up to be the carry player, like something on the Kazakhs or even Wukong, where it does relatively well when you give it kills ahead. I believe back in spring, my biggest criticism for RNG is that the meta just didn't really suit them that well. It was the jungler playing for setup like the Vi's, the Sejuanis, and of course the Maokais. But when Wei was on something like the Graves, they were finding a lot of success, and that trend has kind of continued into summer. However, RNG introducing something a little bit more flexible is definitely going to help them in the long run.
Yeah, I definitely agree though that this is a very different style from RNG, where not only we talked about Tongyun playing Jace for the first time this split, but Wei and Breathe, both first time Renekton and first time Maokai this split. Like, this is a very different look from the team than what we've seen all summer. So excited to see how they bring this one to the Rift and how they pilot this one. I'm also looking towards iBoy because, you know, we're talking about Kai'Sa as this kind of old school carry, like 2019, 2020, really big years for the pick. Well, iBoy is an old school carry. iBoy is one of the guys that was absolutely popping off back in 2019. Like, he is an exceptionally good Kai'Sa, and I'm excited to see what he could do, especially with the, I mean, the current version of Kai'Sa is incredibly strong. So I feel like he's got carry potential on his side.
Yeah, iBoy coming into this AL roster with a lot of veterancy. And of course, he found the most success during 2017 to 2018 on EDG alongside the names like Clearlove, Scout, and Meiko. So giving him something that has a bit more playmaking ability on this Kai'Sa is going to be spicy, to say the least.
The gyos come in and the emotes come out between our top laners, Breathe and ZDZ. Kind of sparring, like throwing attacks but canceling them.
You know something, Munch, is that Chinese emotes, or at least for the Silas emotes, they have built-in text.
Yeah,
for
I know, yeah.
especially like the thumbs down and everything. We don't get that outside of the Chinese emotes. We don't get that in the Western version, do we?
What do they say?
What
does the
the
Nico one
Nico is
say?
like, oh, not bad, you know, playing not bad. And then the Silas one is like the really BM one. The Silas one is like, oh, you're playing really bad, thumbs down. You're really weak. So people get really triggered when you see that.
I mean, the thumbs down from Silas is definitely like a gladiator reference, right? It's you know, Caesar doing the thumbs out in the arena or whatever. But hey, I agree though. Like, I feel like we should. I need more active BM in my games of League of Legends. I don't feel like it's toxic enough yet. So I feel like we need more tools available. The bait ping just wasn't enough. I feel like we need even more.
Munch really wants something to spice up his ranked games, but that's, I mean, something that we don't really get in competitive League of Legends, but hopefully as the game continues, we will get some of that. Harder is now level 2, and he is looking for some trade onto Tongyun, but I feel like overall, Tongyun does come out on top because he does have that extra bit of lifesteal in the D-Blade, but I do want to hone in on the bottom lane 2v2 because we have pretty much 2019 meta. We have Alistair versus Leona. But I'm expecting iBoy to go the static Shiv build, although he did start the call. I mean, he can still flex between the two, taking lethal tempo. But Lumal and this Alistair champion, they're relatively weak until level 3, so we won't expect too much action. But I feel like it really depends on who gets first move to help out their junglers, which will be the main characters of this Game 1.
Yeah, we've just been fed some stats on Kai'Sa bot lane so far this split. 2 and 7.
That's lovely.
20% win rate. It's not ideal, is it? I thought it was doing better than it has been. I'm a huge fan of the Kai'Sa, but so far, the stats aren't really agreeing with it.
The Kai'Sa game that really comes to mind for the summer split is Ruler's game. I believe it was up against Top Esports or something. Maybe I could be wrong. The games are blending together, but man had an insane team fight at Rift Herald. But talking about Rift Herald, Wei is looking for a sneaky priority on this Rift Scuttle. Rift Scuttle? Surely they're related, right? They look the same.
I think it's called a Rift Scuttler, isn't it? Like, they're not actually called Scuttle Crab. They're called Rift Scuttlers. I don't know where Scuttle Crab came from or why everyone calls them Scuttle Crab. I call them Scuttle Crab, but if you click on it, or if you look on the wiki or whatever, it's called a Rift Scuttler.
I mean, the more you know, right? But we do have two people hovering towards his middle lane, but it does seem like Wei is going to look for that double scuttle over Xiaohao. Oh, Harder flashing in.
Flash forwards, but won't find his opportunity here. The fight for the Rift Scuttler comes on in. Brave continuing to just bully onto ZDZ, already building a CS advantage. You can see he's going to deny that cannon as well as actually maybe looking for the absolute all-in. ZDZ barely surviving this lane at the minute.
ZDZ does have an extra bit of cookie, but one more misstep could mean that first blood going into Breed's hand, and we see Renekton as that common response into a blind Cassante as you are that lane bully in the early game, even canceling ZDZ's back. But this wave is really bad for the side of AL towards his top side. It is slow pushing towards Breed's side, so even TPing back, you need Xiaohao to kind of cover him to get that wave really pushed in and reset. But we see a replay of just the flash for flash trade as Wei does get away scratch free, but has to go over the scuttle, unfortunately.
So all things considered, our jungle's currently even on CS. You can see Wei pathing back up towards this top side, and Breathe has done a really good job of not only building a CS lead, but look at how the wave is positioned, right? It's pushing in towards him. As he goes for another trade, we'll clear away some of these minions because ZDZ could go back to base. Got himself that Thornmail piece as well, so the Bramble Vest. I couldn't think of the name then for a second. So we'll make the lane a little bit harder for Breathe, but you're still going to favor the Renekton.
Most definitely. I've been thoroughly enjoying this Renekton champion. Harder does get the stun onto Tongyuan, but Xiaohao is way too far away to commit to anything in the mid lane. But yeah, back to my point, I feel like Renekton is the LPL champion where you do get to force those early skirmishes around those major objectives. Just flash onto the carry and you pretty much one-shot someone. But obviously this champion, it does fall off a cliff once you get into the later stage. So you need this type of advantage, which Breathe is generating towards his top side. And of course, Tongyuan utilizing his mid lane priority is going to bully out Xiaohao at his own wolf camp.
Look at this. The proxy from Breathe means he can move over to the play as well. Wait, will take away the wolf camp, and this is just straight up bullying from RNG, utilizing the presence they have in both mid and top lane to now go for invades onto Xiaohao. And you know, coming into the series, you were saying we gotta look at Xiaohao as our big play. Oh, they're gonna be stunned up and slammed down to the skies from Taeguan as Xiao. Yeah, you'll get a couple of hits on Wei, but it just doesn't matter.
And Wei does find revenge onto Hada. Listed down, noted down that Hada did not have that flash from the previous exchange and committing all summoner spells from the top laner as well. Really good proactive play from RNG and exactly what you expect from that Renekton, but that falls into the point where Xiaohao is so behind in camps now, where we all say that Wukong and Maokai, you really need that level 6 to make things happen on the map, but we get a replay of what happened. Xiaohao was on a ward. I mean, there's so many deep vision for RNG set up towards his top side, so I feel like Harder and Xiaohao walking over here was a little bit of an overextension and rightfully punished by RNG.
I feel like they must have thought that RNG had backed away after the invade and gone back to their own side of the map, and they clearly didn't realize that we're just going to be waiting in the wings. And again, look at this. Breathe just holding the wave. The cannon denied. And Breathe, now it'll slow push away from him, but look at the CS lead that he already has. 12-14 CS up with more to take.
Bit of a horror story towards his top side as you aren't going to be able to take any plates on Cassante, where that is where you shine the most. I'm expecting both junglers, if they weren't path towards that top side, is a little bit hard to one-shot either Renekton or Cassante. So ZDZ, your wave, that's your problem. At least it's slow pushing towards him now, as Dragon is going to be up and available. We need to look at the summoner spells. We don't have the flashes available for this. Oh, Hada!
Oh no, the second he doesn't have flash, they just all go in. His flash is now coming off cooldown, but wait, knocked under the tower. Oh, will just be taken out in response. So good answer here from AL. Harder punished again. That one flash punished twice now.
They clutched the flash timing on both Wei and Harder perfectly. Like you said, 2 seconds or 3 seconds for that anti-flash to come back up, but they luckily got a response play from AL to get their hands onto Wei, who didn't have the flash either. But a really nice proactive roam from Lu Mao, committing the flash from the Leona as well and getting that extra bit of kill into Tangyuan's spot. Oh, Wei stole it, but you know, as a response, at least Wei got knocked into the tower, and that does bring them back a little bit of gold for Harder, which both of the dead people got the kill. It was a 1-for-1.
Yeah, the fact that Harder got it with Tibbers finishing the kill off there, but bit of heroics from Zora to make the play happen. Drake should be taken by RNG, and it does feel like they've been in control of this early game as Breathe continuing to just fight against ZDZ, who's going to go for the all-out, but Dominus is there for Breathe as well. ZDZ, I don't think you win this one, but Xiao Hao coming into the play. Breathe, no flash available. Xiao Hao flashes towards him, but can't actually close the gap here. Breathe is just waiting for cooldowns. He can go back in. Q3, though, the sustain is there. ZDZ flashes out to safety at the last second, and they bring down the Croc.
It looked a little bit scary, Munch. I will not lie. I feel like Breathe did have the damage to one-shot ZDZ, and he respectfully flashed out of that as well. So 2-4, no flashes or summoners, an ultimate out of Breathe, but it is going to be the top lane of RNG playing a little bit disrespectful as the rest of the team was securing that first dragon.
Crucially, now we've got to look to RNG and see if they can punish that lack of flash, right? Xiao Hao flashed and ZDZ flashed, and we saw when Harder didn't have flash on cooldown, he died twice within that 5-minute window. Let's see what RNG are cooking up for this top side, as Herald was dropped by AL. They don't commit to the play, and RNG now move in.
We need to also look at the ultimates available for both sides of this team because Xiao Hao had to commit both his flash and Cyclone for that kill onto Breed. That does give RNG an angle to secure this Rift Herald as well, but that does mean both of the early objectives going over towards RNG is LP, a 1v1 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, both of them just blasting abilities out. Neither ultimates used, though. It does mean that the action is dissuaded in the end. I think iBoy was looking for an angle for the ult there, but too many minions, and there we go. The minions are gone. Featherstorm instantly to answer. There we go, ult for ult.
That's kind of just the classic match of the Kai'Sa always wanting to go in, and Zai pretty much says, nope, I have the Featherstorm, and she is going to get away scratch-free. But we have to kind of talk about how RNG, they have complete control of this early game, and with the ultimates coming online for both Wei and Lu Mao, they just seem like they have a lot of vision control at the right time, and AL struggling to find these angles. But I would love to see some synergy between Harder and Xiao Hao to make plays and punish this Zai, who just burnt her ultimate in the bottom lane. We'll have to wait and see, because Tangyuan, he does pick up the Dusk Blade at 11 minutes, so it's going to be really hard trying to find any wave priority, as we don't see that one, Zora.
Man, like, how do the observers for LPL even find these moments? Like, how they happen to be, they must have like a 5-second advantage on us. They spot in the live feed that Zora misses a ward, so then they zoom in on the main feed and like, hey, look guys, Zora's missing a ward. It's so brutal.
All right, Munch, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a broadcast secret. The observers, I think, are 3 seconds ahead of the casters and the live feed, so they get to spot out all these like tiny details, including Zora missing the ward on the Tribalish, but nothing
This is what
major.
they use that power for, just to cyberbully Zora.
And to zoom in on the amount of cannon lives that have been missed, not collecting the gold either.
Oh dear. LPL observers never change, never change. We go there, grouping up on the bottom side of the map. Drake not up for another minute and a half. It does feel like both teams wanting to contest, as the Wolves will be finished off. Blue buff the target for Wei as Breathe goes in once again, just continuing to dominate that top lane matchup. Does mean that with that push, he can move out to the rest of the map, maybe influence something else.
You already see the vision that Breathe has been able to secure in this top side. Although you see Xiao Hao showing on this river towards the bottom side, but that does give so much info for RNG to work off. But I feel like in this current game state, they're so comfortable. Their solo laners are ahead in terms of gold. They have the demonic also getting picked up by Wei as well. So if AL wanted to engage, they just don't have the pure DPS. iBoy does pick up the Kraken. It isn't going to be the static shiv much, so that does kind of make my day a little bit better.
Yeah, kind of surprised not to see the AP builders ult for ult in the top side. ZDZ trying to find his chance, and Breathe respects it, flashes away. Herald now slammed into this mid lane, and Tangyuan doesn't quite find his gate. So the shock blast is short on the minion wave, but not going to be the end of the world for him. CDZ now finally gets a bit of pressure in the top side after using those ultimates.
Yeah, and with the gold going into Tangyun's pockets, that's definitely not something you want to be dealing with as AL. You don't really have the same amount of range DPS to deal with this Jace, as they will just play around Tangyun's Duskblade poke for this upcoming dragon game. But Breed surprisingly committing the TP towards his top side, so it is going to force a 4v4 towards the bottom. But I think Breed might look for a solo kill while this all goes down.
Yeah, I mean, Breathe, knowing that ZDZ can't reset right now or he'll lose so much. His TP on cooldown currently. So Drake, the target for RNG, as Breathe makes sure that ZDZ can't proxy, can't leave this lane for the time being. Now trying to muscle in as well, as LP's still in the bottom lane.
LB's just chilling, but Hada does have that flash available, so RNG, they can't overstep, but you also have to take in consideration that you can't get poked out by Tangyun either, so they have to pull the trigger fast if they want to look for this dragon.
AL are doing the Drake, but right now LP is just denying waves in the bottom side. Zora goes in, they're looking for Lumao, but he jumps forward to find a stun of his own. Now the commitment as LP arrives on the play. Tangyun with the Duskblade already, and the Featherstorm finishes the monkey. Eyeboy and Zora trying to escape, but here comes Breathe on the other side of the play. Zora's the target. A single auto would do the trick, but we're gonna call the meek.
I mean, you get the engage off, but it's onto Lumao, and he's a Leona. Press the W, extra bit of resistance, and they take 2 ultimates from AL, fighting in that choke as well. But wait, getting such a huge ultimate on this Maokai. I believe rooting 4 members of AL, just complete control, and they secure the second dragon. But we'll get a replay. I think Hado was trying to look for the double stun on the Tangyun, but it unfortunately missed, and it wasn't able to reach onto the Jace, which is exactly what you want to be looking for. But that's so much damage just committed to a single Leona, while there was around 3 members also getting, I guess Wei was finding a lot of time for that as well, while LP, I mean, he was just collecting the remaining kills, while Breathe, utilizing that lane party that he was able to gain, also picks up a kill for him as well. RNG more than comfortable with the current game state.
I mean, Breed's loving that. Just slides in, picks up 400 gold, and slides out again. Heads back up towards the top lane. Beautiful stuff. And in fact, actually, no, moving towards the bottom side of the map now. As you can see, Tangyun is going to be the one to meet up with ZDZ in the top side here as our AD carries go to the mid lane, as you would expect.
You know, Munch, something that is a little bit surprising is that Hada has decided to lean towards the Luden's build on Annie, but I think for this game in particular, the Proto Belt, the Rocket Belt, for Annie would have been a little bit nicer, because you do have that extra bit of gap close and you're not as reliant on that flash cooldown when you're trying to get your hands onto someone like Tangyun and LP. But I mean, that magic pen will be nice, but I feel like Eyeball also going the Kraken, there's a bit too much damage. Maybe that could have been a little bit of a change, but we'll have to wait and see how Hada utilizes this.
Are you saying the build that he's gone for, he's making the game harder for himself? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Here we go then. RNG setting up to try and contest the Herald, as AL already onto it for now, but RNG have pretty much won every fight they've had so far. Shock Blast is coming out, 3k on the Herald as the roots come in. Breathe engages the play. He is tanky, but is he tanky enough? He's in a 1v3, 1v4 on the backside. Gore-Drinker isn't enough. The Shock Blast comes in, Zora's low, but AL, they get themselves a Herald, they get a top laner, and they get out.
Way too split by RNG. I mean, to be fair, Breathe did buy a lot of time, but it just didn't seem like they had the follow-up from RNG. As AL, they secure themselves that Rift Herald, but they don't really have the tools to look for and re-engage in this mid lane without that ultimate from the Maokai and Leona. So can they secure this with the wave clear from Hada? I'm not too sure.
Tibbers comes down just to clear the wave, and it means Eyeboy has so much time at the top side to finish it out by himself as well. And the gold, much more even than it was before this turn of play, and still the Herald in pocket for the side of AL as well. So you can anticipate at least one more of those tier 1s going down. RNG still with the lead, but AL finally showing us something here, answering back.
Yeah, the mid tower in mid lane does go down, as you see that RNG, they wanted to contest this, but I don't know why Wei and the rest of the gang was really hesitant on this play. Although you lost the Rift Herald, you could have been there as the backup, but Hada, he didn't have that stun available either, so I think RNG, they were a little bit hesitant on that call. But with RNG picking up the mid tower, that does open up the map so much more and allows for vision to be set for this upcoming dragon towards the bot side, and that does deny a lot of angles for Zora and Hada to work off with.
I will say Zora's looking good on this Alistair so far. Like, multiple fights now, he's found an angle to blow someone out of position to find a pick. Like, he knocked way underneath the tower in the mid lane play earlier on. Now as Breathe goes in, he knocks him up, then knocks him further away from his team. Now a double knock up on the engage as well, but he's low on HP himself. Featherstorm comes on through. That's a lot of feathers to pull in for LP, but Lumao's just going to go down, and the feathers do nothing.
It tickled harder, to say the least, but that is going to be Lumao dying. A really nice engage from Zora, and also the TP committed from Harder, so they are going to be able to regain some vision control towards this bottom side. I'm pretty surprised that they aren't looking for anything. I believe Zora has to reset for those wards, so RNG not losing too much, but that is going to be the Featherstorm out of the Xayah, and it allows Harder to look with that flash available in this upcoming team fight.
Yeah, we've got, what, 40 seconds, 30 seconds until Drake is going to come up onto the map. Without Featherstorm, that could be difficult for RNG to contest, honestly. Looking towards iBoy as well.
Ow!
There's Tangyuan. He's starting to hit hard. He is starting to get that lethality online. You can see Muramana finished off now. 2-0 and 3 on the Jace. We were questioning, how good is his Jace going to be? So far, so good.
Even getting that extra bit of Q onto iBoy does mean that AL have to give up this control for the third dragon. I don't think they can force anything for the Baron. Breathe also has that TP available, so if AL want to contest for this dragon in a 5v5 style, Breathe will have a really good flank angle, and they don't really have the engage tools from Zora. They have to wait for this cooldown, so RNG gonna utilize this time frame to set up for the next dragon.
Kind of a weird herald there, as it's just going to be cleared. Lumao has to flash away to safety as the roots come across the team. Breathe is coming in. Can they find the fight? Solar Flare flashed away from. But that's, I mean, Zora's ultimate, Zora's flash. That's basically all of the hard engage AL have. I guess they got Wukong.
They have Annie too, but
that's true.
We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, I take it back. That's not all the hard engage they have. In fact, that's a small portion of the hard engage they have.
It kind of does seem like these two teams are just playing it full on ARAM in the mid lane, but RNG eventually going to secure that control over the dragon. I don't think AL have the damage to burst this Baron, and RNG very aware that they could potentially flip it here. Wei is the only one on the dragon though, so he won't make it in time, I don't think. Oh, he's already done. He can.
He's on the Drake still as he now starts to move over. Harder is looking for the engage, but he's been spotted by the sweeper. 3k on the Baron. Zora the target, no ultimate available as LP charged in. iBoy is going to be going down as well. That's 2 kills in trade for the Baron. What else can they get away with? They need to get these resets off, but Tanguy nervous to go in. Stops one reset. Xiaohao now in the enemy jungle as Hard has been found as well. 3 kills in trade for the Baron as well as that Drake. Xiaohao needs to get the reset off, but the Solar Flare denies it. It'll be 4 going down. Only ZDZ gets away with the Baron. Buff AL, yes, they get the Baron, but I don't think it's worth it.
Look, I respect the attempt. At 20 minutes, you're already down 3 dragons. You might as well all in on the Baron play and hope for a flip, as Wei was still caught up in the whole mix of the dragon, trying to secure that soul point for the side of RNG. But RNG has picked apart AL so nicely here. I feel like the game plan for AL is just try to escape with as many people as you could, but Harder a little bit hesitant on what he wanted to do with this play, where you saw him just, I don't know, he had the flash available to look for a one-shot onto the mid lane of RNG as well, but it just wasn't really any call from AL, and now they only go away with 1 Baron buff in ZDZ's pockets.
Oh my days, the shock blasts are really hitting hard. iBoy having a hard time trying to influence this game. The Navori quick blades finished off, headed towards third item. I assume a PD as well there. See if he can finish that in time, if he's going to be able to influence these fights, because it's been a fairly quiet game from him. And LP has really been dominating the farm side of things. We keep on seeing him kind of staying in lanes a little bit longer than iBoy. iBoy moving over towards these skirmishes a little bit earlier. And LP's just consistently crashing waves, and you can see the results in the scoreboard.
Annoying thing about RNG's composition is that they have so many carry potential in Breathe, in Tangyu, and also LP, so it's going to be really hard for AL to really focus in on one person. But Harder, he did save that flash, so they still have an opportunity to look for an angle. If Tangyu does misstep, but I feel like AL, they have to play off RNG's misplays nowadays. but RNG gonna utilize this time frame and kind of force the side lane where I don't think AL has anyone that can respond unless they go catch Tongyun out.
Harder taking yet another blast here as RNG move down to the bottom side, and the roots. Harder has that flash, but I still won't be able to escape. Surely the shock blast is there, the solar flare as well. And I mean, look, saplings need the sun. I guess Leona Maokai is a hell of a combo. There's now tier 2 in the bottom side taken, a tier 2 in the mid lane taken as well. I'm not going to try and push for inhibs right now, but my god, RNG are looking strong as hell right now. 2 minutes until that Drake as well as they reset.
There is still a ray of hope. ZDZ can utilize the last 2 seconds of this Baron buff and secure a wave in the top side, but I feel like as Harder in that situation, you might as well hold on to the flash. It was a little bit too hopeful to think you could escape from that tier 2 tower in the bottom lane, as RNG, I mean, they're just opening up the map so much, and we kind of have to bring it back to the point where AL only looks successful when Xiaohao is the main carry of this team, but when you don't have any lane party to work off, that it just becomes so much harder.
And I want to go back to something we talked about as well, because you know, talking about jungle carries, I feel like that has been the MO for RNG for most of this split as well. We talked about the Maokai coming in at the start of this game. Like, Maokai, first game of the split. Breathe with the Renekton, first game of the split. The Jace for Tangyuan, first game of the split. A very different look on the top side for RNG. And so far, looking fantastic with it.
Yeah, I really respect RNG's attempt in experimenting with different identities, as we know that RNG, they find a lot of success when Wei is on something like the Kha'Zix, but perhaps AL, they can find a potential pick before this final dragon spawns, which is going to be Mountain Soul, and it's going to be just so rough trying to walk in because we have so many engage tools available for RNG. Maybe look for a flank angle from the bottom side could be your way, as Harder is already hovering that.
I feel like we need a Harder redemption play here. A big Tibbers onto multiple carries. I feel it's the only way for AL to win a fight. They're 8,000 gold down as Drake is spawning in 25 seconds. And again, look at the mid lane. LP pushes a wave and moves, and there's no one there to answer for the side of AL. This is where these massive CS leads are coming from across the board. Tangyuan just playing at range for the Taiping. ZDZ just gets wailed up by LP. And now the roots come across the team as well. And Zora getting caught out, having to use that ultimate. Finds the knock up, and LP with the Featherstorm keeps himself safe. And AL not going down with a bang, but instead with a whimper here. As they're slowly but surely chased down. Now into the backline they go. Can they find LP? At least that's one as Harder. Chased down by the Croc in the meantime. Boy getting one, but it's a triple kill for Tangyuan. And now the slow onto Xiaohao. We've seen him try and escape through the jungle before. It ain't happening. A quadra kill for Tangyuan. And RNG will win the game.
You know what, Munch? Tongyuan has officially proven to us that he can play anything, including the J7, 0, and 6, as AL were just slowly picked apart at that final dragon play, now losing the mid lane inhibitor as well. I'm assuming they're going to reset and work towards that top side and force this Baron play where AL, they don't have the tempo to contest that.
They certainly don't. Mid inhib taken down. Mountain Soul now finished off as well. And sure, they don't end the game right now, but let's be honest, that next push is going to be devastating. Tangyuan, though, fantastic fight from him. Keep your eyes on this Jace.
I mean, everyone is just kind of looking at Tangyuan, but I also want to give credit to LP about how he was able to soak up the amount of pressure from specifically Harder, but we kind of go back to the point where RNG's composition, there's more than just one carry to deal with, while AL, they have these single target DPS all committing onto the AD carry.
But time for that as maybe a pick, maybe an opportunity for AL. They find one to start it off here, but Tangyuan is untouched so far, and he's shredding these health bars. So is LP. I don't know how they never found LP, but AL just take it apart. Oh, wow. It looked like maybe they found the opportunity, but instead they just serve RNG up a fight on a silver platter.
Boy did manage to clear out on the mid wave. Oh no, the flash from Breathe. I think that boy's out.
Oh no, the emotes as well. He emotes at Breathe, and Breathe just flashes, just decimates him. And look at that. Not a single spark of emotion on his face. It's just another day in the office for Breathe.
Relatively slow bleed for AL as the top towers do fall as well, but RNG eventually going to pick up this Baron buff and work towards that bottom side. No flashes available for any member in the upcoming fight, so I'm really worried for them. But like you said, I don't know how LP managed to live this fight. It was a perfect choke for Hada and Xiaohao to work off, but I just don't think they have the damage anymore to one-shot these type of people. But Wei, this game in particular on the Maokai, he's been finding so many successful engages on this Maokai and just buying so much time for Tangyuan to do that DPS on the Jace.
So now, 13,000 gold lead with the Mountain Soul. It's a pretty good spot for RNG to be in. And a valiant attempt from AL. And look, I respect that AL are still going for these fights, you know, still looking for opportunities. Never say die and all of that. However, I think they're going to have to be looking towards game 2 at this point, as we have hit the 3-item mark for iBoy. Maybe he can be that quick carry, but I'm not sure if they can survive long enough for him to get that many auto attacks off. Like, I feel like he's got so much threat on him, he never actually just gets to free fire as an AD carry.
Alright, Munch, you know what would have worked this game? Static Shiv Kai'Sa. With the amount of wave push that RNG was able to get out of this Jace, absolute value, but we did see the ultimates traded between the supports, as we do have Xiaohao tanking the ultimate from away with the clone, but it's just going to be a triple inhibitor that RNG is looking for.
Kai'Sa getting some good damage down onto Wei, but will be that bot lane inhibitor taken, and the damage responded in kind from Tangyuan. And now, like you say, they can move up to that top side if they really want to. And I was about to say, they've got a TP available for Tangyuan. It's going to be blasted to that top lane to set that up. The rest of the team can move over, get vision over the wall, and set up for a siege in the top lane. Like you say, triple inhib, well and truly on the way.
Not just triple inhib, also triple stopwatches for this RNG squad, and LP has the Featherstorm available in his pockets, both flash and cleanse, so you have to consider that Harder, the only person you can look for an engage onto is probably Lu Mao, and to secure that CC down, but Breathe, he's an absolute menace on the back line.
They found iBoy, the knockups are going to be there. Breathe trying to chase down onto him, but he'll at least chase him out of the fight as LP survives with the Featherstorm. And it's just another team fight win for RNG. Same old for them, as the Baron minions enough to chase them out. Double kill comes through for LP. And the boys in black and gold making it look good as they manage to get their win here. Will they win the game? Who knows? They're struggling to actually finish it off. But now, Nexus Tower's finally being taken down. ZDZ alone as iBoy still messing about on the map. But it will be game 1 going the way of RNG.
You can see smiles across the board for RNG, especially from Tangyuan. Excellent performance and debut on the Jace in the LPL. And I mean, RNG, they're just going in an upwards trend, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to serve us for this summer split.
Yeah, I feel like RNG are bringing a lot to the table this year. I apologize. I think I just coughed on broadcast. I thought I pressed the mute button.